I had been in a secret marriage for 7 years. In that time, I gave birth to 5 children. Every single one of them was stillborn. Ethan, concerned for my health, specially hired a top nutritionist to help adjust my diet. He would comfort me, saying that someday, we'd surely have a healthy child. So when I found out I was pregnant again, I rushed to share the news with Ethan, ecstatic, hopeful, but just as I reached the door of the private room, I overheard a conversation between him and his close friend, Jason. You killed Sophia's 5 babies just to give Luna samples for her medical research. Are you insane? Those were your own children. Ethan's voice was calm, even indifferent. Mana works so hard. I don't understand medicine, but I can at least be her strongest support. Give her everything I can. Besides, Sophia and I were never legally married. Those kids were illegitimate from the start. If they died, so be it. My wife can only be Mana. Turns out, the marriage I had cherished with all my heart was nothing but a carefully staged lie, and the man I believed to be gentle and loving was nothing more than a butcher wearing human skin. If that's the case, there's no reason to hold on anymore. Jason's expression was conflicted as he asked the question that had been nagging at him. If Luna's the one you've always loved, why did you even propose to Sophia? Why let her carry your children? Ethan smirked. Well, Mana was going abroad to study. I'm still a man with needs, right? Sophia was a virgin when we met. Clean enough. I tricked her into a hidden marriage so she wouldn't go sleeping around and bring me back some nasty disease. As for the kids, I don't like using protection, and she was so eager to be a mom. So I figured, why not let her have them for fun? It's not like I ever planned to let them live. Jason looked away, unable to hide his discomfort. But you kept Sophia in the shadows for 7 whole years, you let her suffer through 5 lost children, and now you're planning to marry someone else. Sophia loves you. Don't you think that's— Ethan cut him off impatiently. Come on, she's just a country girl who managed to graduate college, living with me. She's had the best food, the best life. Better than anything she could have dreamed of. I've already done enough for her. In 3 days, Mana and I are flying out for our wedding. Make sure you show up, Jason sighed, seeing Ethan's mind was made up. Percy, don't say I didn't warn you. Those who betray sincere hearts are doomed to suffer. Sophia is a good woman. I just hope you won't regret this someday. Phut, Ethan scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. As long as I get to marry Mana with the whole world watching, I won't regret a damn thing. Don't try to scare me with those cheesy soap opera lines. Jason said nothing more, shaking his head in helpless disapproval. The joy in my heart was extinguished in an instant. I stood frozen outside the door, cheeks wet with tears. When Ethan glanced up and saw me standing there, his face turned pale with shock. He rushed out in a panic. Sophia, when did you get here? Why are you crying like this? His voice wavered with a hint of guilt. I quickly wiped away my tears and forced a smile. It's nothing. My false eyelashes came loose and got into my eye. Guess I'm just terrible at makeup. Ethan let out a relieved sigh and pulled me into his arms. My heart breaks when I see you cry. From now on, don't wear that stuff. My wife is the most beautiful woman in the world, even barefaced. Come on, let's go home. His sweet words flowed as smoothly as ever, but they no longer stirred anything in me. Back when I had just graduated college and joined the GU Corporation, I was bullied and insulted by my superiors. It was Ethan who came to my rescue. Standing up for me and restoring my dignity, he told me he would be my shelter forever, the tree that shields me from every storm. I believed him, and gave him my heart and soul without reservation. So when he asked me to keep our marriage a secret, I didn't even hesitate to agree. I was afraid that having a lowly wife from the countryside would hurt the GU Corporation's stock price. Every time I got pregnant, Ethan was over the moon, practically bouncing with excitement. Saying he was going to be a dad, afraid I might be in pain, he would instruct the private doctor to use full anesthesia and stay by my side the entire time. I thought he truly cared about me, and our children, so that was his plan all along. Making it easier to kill our unborn children with his own hands, just to provide fresh specimens for the woman he loved. And to think, I always blamed myself. I believed I was too physically weak to carry a child to term. I even felt guilty for failing him. Looking back now, what a joke. Once I got home, I waited until Ethan was in the shower, then I scheduled an abortion. I also booked a flight, leaving in 3 days. After his shower, Ethan was toweling his hair dry when he casually mentioned, "Sophia, I have a business trip abroad in 3 days. I'll be gone for a little over a month. A month? Just the right amount of time to hold a wedding and enjoy a honeymoon." I looked at him and said softly, "Ethan, I haven't been feeling well lately. Can you stay and spend some time with me instead?" His smile vanished, he frowned and replied coolly, "Sophia, we've been married for years, you know me. I don't like women interfering with my work. Be good and wait for me at home. I'll bring you a gift when I'm back." With that final shred of hope extinguished, I nodded numbly. "You're right, I'm being selfish. Go ahead and go." His expression softened at once. He smiled and pressed me down onto the bed, his breath, laced with alcohol, brushed against my ear. "Sophia, the nutritionist says your body's doing great. How about we try for a baby tonight? I really want to watch our child grow up together with you." His words made me feel sick inside. I gently pushed him away, masking my disgust. "Not tonight, you've been drinking. It might affect the baby's health." He knew how much I cared about that, so he didn't push further. He kissed my forehead and soon drifted off to sleep. Once I was sure he was fully asleep, I got up and picked up his jacket. That's when I discovered he had a second phone, one I'd never seen before, the lock screen, a photo of him kissing Luna. Of course, the passcode was her birthday. I opened their chat history and was immediately greeted by the sight of photos. Photos of my 5 dead babies. "Luna, I've got you new specimens. I'll have them flown in by helicopter this afternoon. They're very fresh, shouldn't affect your research data at all. Ran out of the last batch already. Don't worry, Sophia's pregnant again. I'll make sure she gives birth early. You'll have your new samples soon. You really are so hardworking and brilliant. Luna, you're going to be an amazing doctor. When are you coming home? Luna, I've always saved the role of wife for you. Sophia's just a vessel. A tool." My hands shook as I clutched my belly. Tears streamed down my face. This baby should never have existed. In his photo albums, there were tens of thousands of pictures of the two of them. From childhood to now, each image came with a heartfelt caption, never repeated, always tender, 7 years of a secret marriage. And most of that time, Ethan had been on business trips. Turns out, he was with Luna. In his private WeChat favorites folder, I found over 100 wedding planning files. Every tiny detail had been carefully designed by Ethan himself, each version more extravagant than the last, all of them, for Luna. For every holiday, no matter how big or small, he prepared lavish gifts for her. No matter how busy, he would fly across oceans just to deliver them in person. And me, I was only worthy of the leftover freebies. I remember the day we registered our marriage. Ethan didn't even bring flowers that night. As we walked past a flower shop and I looked longingly at the blossoms, he simply said, "Those are just silly things little girls like. You're not that childish, Sophia." But for Luna, he bought an entire estate abroad and planted it full of rare flowers, a garden made just for her. Looking at a photo of them kissing amidst the blooms, I suddenly laughed until I cried. I took pictures of everything. Then I found that fake marriage certificate. Ethan once told me he didn't want me to be tired, so he'd arranged for the registrar to come to our house. Now I realized, they were just actors. I tore the certificate to pieces and tossed it in the trash. Back in bed, I stared at Ethan's handsome profile. I no longer felt anything, only coldness and grief. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, as usual, Ethan had the nutritionist prepare me a lavish breakfast. I used to be touched by his attention and care. But after what I saw last night, I knew better. It was all just routine. Every meal I ate had first been tasted by Luna. The difference, hers was cooked by Ethan himself. The thought made my stomach turn. I lurched to the side and started retching. Ethan rushed over to hold me. "Sophia, what's wrong?" There was a flicker of joy in his eyes. "Wait, are you pregnant again?" I saw the expression on his face and felt a wave of bitter irony. "What are you so happy about? Already planning how to offer this child as another gift to your beloved?" I forced a weak smile. "No, you know how fragile I am. After losing all those babies, my body's basically ruined. It's really hard for me to get pregnant now." Ethan gently stroked my back. Don't say that, Sophia, none of that was your fault. I don't blame you, just focus on getting stronger. We'll have a healthy baby someday, I promise. Don't be upset, it's Mom's 60th birthday today. And there are a lot of guests here to celebrate, as her children. We can't be absent. Come on, let your husband take you to the hotel and join the fun. Then his tone suddenly shifted, but since our marriage is still a secret, even from my mom, if someone asks about your identity, I knew exactly what he was going to say, so I calmly interrupted. I understand, I'll just say I'm your assistant. I knew it. You're always so understanding, Sophia, at the hotel. The first thing I saw was Luna clinging to his mother's arm, giggling sweetly. She was wearing a custom-made designer gown, pretending to check my mother-in-law's pulse, claiming she could live to be 200. My mother-in-law beamed with delight and immediately slipped off the jade bracelet from her wrist to gift it to Luna. That bracelet was a GU family heirloom, only passed down to official daughters-in-law. When Luna saw me, she gave me a knowing smile, but said politely, "Auntie, this is too precious, I really can't accept it. Besides, Pei-sai brought his girlfriend today, she's your real future daughter-in-law, she might even give you 5 healthy grandsons, you should give it to her instead." My mother-in-law turned and looked me up and down, her gaze landed on my plain, ordinary dress, and her eyes filled with disdain. "Girlfriend, please, she's just a little assistant from Pei-sai's company, got herself knocked up by some random man, 5 times, no less. And all stillborn, serves her right. Honestly, if this were my day, would have drowned a little slut like her in a pig cage. She's nothing like you, Luna, you're a proper, well-bred young lady. Well then, Pei-sai isn't getting any younger, let me make the decision today, he'll marry you." This wasn't the first time I'd shown up to a GU family event as just the assistant. Ethan had once said he feared his mother would look down on my background and refuse to accept me. But he had already made up his mind. He wanted to marry me, so we registered our marriage first, and he promised he'd convince his mother with time. I was touched by his commitment and didn't resist. I never imagined that with time would mean 7 years. His mother must have heard somewhere that I'd given birth to 5 stillborn children. From then on, she was convinced I was promiscuous and unclean. She called me a whore every chance she got and insisted Ethan get rid of me. In the past, Ethan would at least say a few words in my defense, but now, with his eyes full of Luna's radiance, he didn't even glance my way. As his mother spoke, Ethan gave a show of reluctance and said, "All right then, since I'm leaving for a business trip abroad the day after tomorrow, I'll take Luna with me and we'll just hold the wedding there." Not a moment's hesitation, Luna looked bashfully delighted, but I haven't even tried on a gown or picked out a ring yet. Without missing a beat, Ethan had staff wheel in 23 haute couture wedding gowns, each one a custom piece from world-renowned designers, all of which required at least 3 years advance booking. Each gown was paired with a diamond ring carefully selected to match, every one the size of a pigeon egg. Among them was a pink diamond ring I had just seen at a televised jewelry auction last month, worth over 200 million. Clearly, all of this had been prepared long ago. Luna squealed with delight and kissed Ethan on the cheek. "Wow, everything fits me perfectly, and there are 23 dresses, just like the year we first met. You really are the most thoughtful man. Pei-sai, be honest, have you had your eyes on me since we were kids?" She pouted playfully, and Ethan just smiled without a word, his gaze full of love and indulgence, an answer louder than anything he could say aloud. I looked down at the simple silver band on my finger. The ring Ethan gave me when he proposed, it was even the wrong size. It cut into my finger and hurt every time I wore it, but I never had the heart to take it off. Now, looking at the rings he gave Luna, identical in size to mine, I finally understood. It wasn't forgetfulness, it wasn't a careless mistake. In his heart, the only woman worth remembering was Luna. Next to them, I looked like a complete joke, a sad clown at someone else's show. I quietly left and headed to the restroom. I splashed my face with cold water again and again, trying to wash away the tears. Just as I stepped out, I stumbled into a warm embrace. It was Ethan. He handed me a delicate bottle of perfume, trying to coax me softly. "Jealous, it's Mom's birthday." I couldn't contradict her. Marrying Luna is just for show, the dresses, the rings, it's all just to keep her happy. Once we're abroad, I'll explain everything to Luna. You're the one I'm really married to. The one who holds the legal certificate, Sophia. I promise. Once this month is over, I'll talk to Mom, I'll make everything public, I'll give you the wedding you deserve, just bear with me a little longer, okay? I know you love perfume. This one was so hard to get, created by the top perfumer in the world. See how much I love you. Bitterness welled up in my chest. That perfume, it was one of the wedding favors he'd prepared for Luna's grand wedding. He invited over 1,000 guests, making sure each one received an exclusive bottle. The one truly being brushed aside was me. A message lit up on my phone, reminding me of the surgery scheduled for this afternoon. Ethan caught a glimpse and asked curiously, "Sophia, what surgery are you having?" I quickly tucked the phone into my purse and smiled. "Nothing important, just some spam. Don't worry. I understand everything you said, I'll support you." Ethan kissed my forehead. "My little WN is so sensible. I'll go entertain the guests first and come home to be with you tonight." I quietly followed him and realized he didn't go to the living room, but to the guest room upstairs. Inside the room, whose door wasn't properly closed, Luna, stripped down to her lingerie, said in a charming voice, "Pei-sai, why did you come so late? I've been waiting for you for ages. I think Xiao WN isn't feeling well. How about we just call it quits today? There'll be plenty of opportunities after marriage. I'll go back and see her first." Luna hooked her arms around his neck, pressing her voluptuous body against his. "Pei-sai, can you bear to leave me alone? It's been so long since we've had sex. Haven't you been missing me? We're getting married soon, and I want to have a child with you. Today, you can go without it. As many times as you want." "Okay." Ethan's eyes instantly flushed with lust. Unable to contain himself any longer, he pushed her onto the bed and began to move frantically. The scene grew increasingly gruesome, their rising and falling breaths stabbing into my heart like a knife. Unable to bear it any longer, I turned and ran away in a panic. As soon as I left the hotel, the nausea washed over me again, and I squatted on the ground, retching. A bottle of chilled wine was poured over my head. Luna casually threw the bottle away and sneered at me. "Sophia, are you a sow? You've lost 5 children, and you can still get pregnant. I'm a medical student. Don't think I can't tell you were having morning sickness just now. I'll soon be Pei-sai's real wife, and you're just my substitute, a mistress, a tool for Pei-sai to vent his lust. You're carrying a filthy bastard child. Do you think Pei-sai will fall in love with you just because you're pregnant again? Don't dream. With just a word from me, he'll give me your child. I'm the one he loves most. By the way, do you want to know what happened to those 5 bastards you gave birth to?" She pulled out her phone and proudly held it up to me. I couldn't stop shaking. "Isn't it exciting? You could have given birth to this bastard. Anyway, he'll have the same fate as the others." I raised my hand, unable to bear it any longer. But Luna picked up the broken bottle from the ground and slashed it across her palm. Blood flowed from the wound, and she let out a scream. Ethan heard the noise and rushed over. Pushing me away, he hugged Luna in his arms, then turned to me and yelled, "Sophia, what are you doing?" Before I could explain, Luna sobbed in grievance. "Pei-sai, today is the day we officially announce our wedding. I just wanted to invite Sophia in for a drink, but she said I stole you away and even cut my hand. I don't know if she's mentally unhealthy because she lost her child." Ethan glared at me with sinister eyes. "I was the one who agreed to marry Man-Man. Why are you lashing out at me? Why are you taking your anger out on Man-Man? Man-Man is a doctor. Her hands are meant to shine on the operating table. How dare you hurt her hands? How could you be so cruel? With a mother as cruel as you, it's no wonder every child she gave birth to is stillborn. That's karma for you." I stared at him in disbelief, as if I were meeting him for the first time. I pointed at Luna, crying and screaming, "My retribution. You're the ones who deserve it, Ethan. Don't you dare tell me. My children were born healthy in my belly. Why were they stillborn? And what did you do with their bodies?" Ethan frowned. "Of course it was your own poor health that implicated the children. You just didn't notice it when they were in your belly. I buried the children's bodies properly. Why are you saying these useless things now? Apologize to Man-Man immediately." I dropped my hands helplessly and laughed at myself. I knew this would be the answer, but why did my heart still ache? I picked up the shards of glass and, without hesitation, cut off my pinky finger. Blood gushed out instantly. Xiao Wn. Ethan's eyes widened in shock. Ethan, you're right. Luna's hands were meant to shine on the operating table. Her palm was cut. I'll compensate her with a finger. Is that enough? With that, I turned and left, looking at my back and the pool of blood on the ground. Ethan felt a sudden surge of panic and wanted to call out to me, but Luna hugged him. Pei-sai, my hand hurts. Ethan hesitated for a moment but ultimately didn't follow. Before entering the operating room, Ethan called, Xiao Wn, how's your hand? Don't worry, Man's hand is fine. It was my fault today. I knew you'd been blaming yourself for the children's deaths, so I shouldn't have said that to you, but I promised Mom that I'd have a wedding with Man. Even if it's just a formality, I'm afraid Mom won't be happy if I delay. She's old and has a bad heart, and I'm worried. I interrupted him. I'm fine. Take good care of her. Don't worry about your mom. Ethan smiled. Silly Xiao Wn, what do you mean by my mom? That's our mom. Don't worry. I'll make Mom accept you sooner or later. I'm going abroad the day after tomorrow. I'll be home tomorrow to spend time with you and bring you something delicious. Be good. After hanging up the phone, I looked toward the open door of the adjacent ward. The TV used by patients to pass the time was playing a news segment. The president of GU Group dotes on his wife to the core, just because his wife, who is not yet married to him, had a small cut on the palm of her hand. He immediately called in experts from all over the country to treat her, to cheer up his wife. Ethan spent 300 million yuan on an exquisite jade disc, once used by an imperial concubine of a past dynasty for beauty treatments. I turned to the doctor. I'm ready. We can begin. Even with anesthesia, I could still feel the cold instruments stirring inside me. I had lost another child. When I stepped out of the hospital, I clutched my empty belly, tears sliding silently down my face. Baby, I'm sorry. In the next life, please don't choose me to be your mother again. The next day, Ethan didn't come home. He only called, sorry, Sophia, I planned to spend the day with you, but my mom suddenly felt unwell. As her son, I have to be there for her. But just 1 minute before that call, Luna had posted on social media. She wore nothing but a bathrobe. Ethan knelt at her feet, shirtless, massaging them with all the tenderness in his eyes and a faint blush of desire still on his cheeks. Their clothes were strewn across the floor. It was clear what had just happened. I gathered up everything that belonged to me and set it all on fire. The following morning, just as I arrived at the airport, Ethan sent a message. Good morning, sweetheart. Did you eat? I really don't want to leave you. I miss you so much. Be good at home and wait for your husband. I'll bring you a gift. I miss your lips. If only I could kiss you right now. I looked up. Not far away, he was passionately kissing Luna, one arm wrapped around her, the other hand texting me. He really was working overtime. I didn't reply. I bundled all the photos from my phone and scheduled them to send to Ethan's work email. Then I turned away and walked toward the boarding gate, headed in the opposite direction from them. Meanwhile, at the wedding venue abroad, Ethan had just arrived. Mrs. GU and all the guests were already there, chatting and laughing in a lively scene. Ethan checked his phone. Seeing no reply from me, he felt a strange unease. After a moment's thought, he called his assistant. Book a flight for my wife. She must be lonely at home without me. By tomorrow, the wedding with Luna would be done. Even if Sophia caused a fuss, it would be too late. He was just about to step on stage with Luna, hand in hand, when his assistant rushed up, waving his phone. Ethan, it's bad news. Your wife found out you gave her unborn children to Luna for medical specimens. She boarded a plane to another country a few hours ago, and now we've just received word that the flight has crashed. Ethan froze. The words "I do," poised on his lips, were swallowed back into his throat. Luna frowned and snapped at the assistant. Who are you calling his wife? I'm Mrs. GU now. Are you trying to get fired? She tugged on Ethan's sleeve and whispered, Ethan, say it, everyone's watching. Ethan seemed to come back to his senses, but then shoved her aside. Grabbing the assistant's collar, his hands trembling, he shouted, what are you talking about? How would she even know? What do you mean, a plane crash? She promised me she'd wait at home like a good girl. Why would she leave the country? Are you cursing her? do you want to die? His words were full of doubt. But his bloodshot eyes burned with fury. Terrified, the assistant held out his phone with shaking hands. Ethan, I'm not making this up. You've been busy with the wedding these past few days and told me to manage your work emails. Just now, while booking the flight for your wife, this email came in. It has all your chats with Luna, photos of the children, and what? Speak, Ethan roared, the assistant stammered, and a medical certificate. It says your wife was 2 months pregnant, but last night she had an abortion. Ethan snatched the phone and, after scanning the contents, his whole body turned rigid. Jason stepped onto the stage and gently pulled the assistant away. He gave Ethan's shoulder a pitying pat. Ethan, I just had someone check. Sophia really did board a flight a few hours ago, and that plane has indeed crashed. Ethan stood pale and stunned, staring at him. She was pregnant. Why didn't she tell me? Why would she abort our child without saying anything? Why would she leave me? Jason had also seen the email. Seeing Ethan in such a daze, he sighed. Why do you think? She gave you 5 children, and you killed every last one. That wasn't enough. You even handed them over to Luna as specimens, to be dissected. Saying they didn't even leave a whole body behind wouldn't be an exaggeration. Do you think she would dare to bear you another child? Better to end it herself than watch it die at your hands. Pacey, I told you that day. Those who betray sincere love deserve to swallow 10,000 needles. You brushed it off like a joke back then. But look at you now. What do you think this is? If you really didn't care about Sophia, then why did you have your assistant call her Mrs. Gu? Let me be honest, I saw Sophia standing outside the door that day. She heard everything you said. The moment your words landed, her tears fell like a waterfall. There's no way she didn't hear. You're just lying to yourself. You think she'll stay after finding out the marriage she devoted herself to all these years was nothing but a sham. That the man she loved was in love with someone else, that he killed her children to please another woman, one who's now about to marry him in a grand ceremony. Do you think someone who loved so deeply, endured so much, and carried so much guilt, would still want to stay by your side after learning it was all a joke? Pacey, if you're determined to marry Luna, I won't stop you, but Sophia's in trouble now. Are you really going to go through with the wedding? Are you really going to be that cruel to her? Jason stopped talking. Ethan's mind was ringing like a bomb had gone off. A flood of thoughts came rushing in. Yes, if Sophia was really just a tool to him, then why had he told his assistant to call her Mrs. Gu? His gaze drifted to the flower girl beside him. Innocent and clueless. Just moments ago, when he saw her, something had triggered a memory of the 5 children he and Sophia had lost. He remembered the sparkle in Sophia's eyes when she first found out she was pregnant. Each time they lost a child, the light in her eyes dimmed, until it vanished completely. And so, Ethan had thought, if Sophia ever got pregnant again, this time, he would let the child live. He still liked her bright eyes. They sparkled like stars. He had always told himself Luna was the one he wanted to marry. But now, standing here, staring at Luna's flawless makeup, he felt none of the joy he had imagined. Instead, he found himself wondering, what would Sophia look like in a wedding gown? She wouldn't be this flashy. She would look gentle, ethereal. That simple phrase, I do, which once felt so certain, now stuck in his throat. Luna clung to his arm, her expression tight with panic. Pacey, stop overthinking. This is just one of Sophia's manipulative games. She's trying to stop our wedding. Don't fall for it. You spoiled her for years. Fine dining, luxury living, and now she's forgotten her place. She's just a mistress, trying to climb her way into the GU family. What right does she have to dream of being your wife? She's nothing more than a tool you use to relieve stress. Now that I'm back, let her go. So what if she's dead? She even sent you that disgusting abortion record, thinking you'd care. How pathetic. Luna had always been proud. Ethan used to love that about her. But now, the contempt in her eyes felt like a blade, sharp, offensive. Sophia had always wanted to be a mother. She would never end a pregnancy lightly. And the date on that abortion record. Suddenly, Ethan grabbed Luna by the throat, his expression dark and terrifying. That day at the hotel, what did you say to Sophia? She had the procedure right after your argument. What did you tell her? It was the first time he had ever shouted at Luna. Terrified, she tried to keep calm. "Pei-sai. You're imagining things. What could I possibly have said to her? It was she who tried to hurt me first. She couldn't stand that you were marrying me. You saw it yourself. She's nothing but a desperate leech, clinging to you for status and wealth. She'd grovel her way into the GU family if she could. Destroy anything in her path. She's vicious. Pei-sai. Don't let her manipulate you." Ethan had loved Luna for many years. He knew her better than she knew herself. One look at her eyes, and he could tell she was lying. He didn't let go. He simply ordered his assistant to pull the hotel's security footage. Luna's heart skipped a beat. A flash of venom crossed her eyes. "He's actually investigating me for that breeding sow," she snapped, her voice shrill. "Pei-sai, this is our wedding day. Don't ruin it over someone who doesn't matter." Women like Sophia, I've seen plenty in school, climbing the ladder with their bodies, pulling every trick they know. She never loved you. All she ever wanted was your name and your money. But no matter what she said, Ethan didn't respond. Instead, he looked at her. This version of Luna who was no longer elegant or noble, just twisted, vengeful, hateful, and suddenly, an unbearable thought crept into his mind. Is this the woman I loved all these years? No matter how it happened, Sophia's child had died because of her. And she didn't feel a shred of guilt. She only knew how to sneer and insult. But Sophia wasn't anything like what Luna described. Sophia had never asked him for a single cent. Not once. She had agreed to a hidden marriage. She had agreed to skip the wedding ceremony. Even when he betrayed her, lied to her, told her it was because of family pressure that he had to marry Luna, she had known the truth, and said nothing, not a single complaint, not even a question. Ethan had never felt so much pain for someone in his life. The assistant returned quickly. After watching the surveillance footage, Ethan's face darkened until it seemed he could bleed ink. He threw Luna to the floor, his eyes full of disgust. "You make me sick, Luna. I'm telling you right now, it's over." Luna stared in shock, clinging to his leg, sobbing. "Pei-sai, please, don't do this. You always said you wanted to marry me. I agreed to be your wife. Why are you changing your mind now? Is it because of that bitch Sophia? What's so good about her? Huh? She's just a lowlife homewrecker. If it's about having kids, I can give you children too. She only loves your money. I love you. Enough." Ethan kicked her away, his voice cold as ice. "You love me. Then why did you so happily accept every luxury I ever gave you? You strung me along while basking in the vanity I handed you, and you thought I couldn't see it. You really took me for a fool. Yes, I liked you. I poured money, time, and energy into you. I admit it. I even gave you Sophia's 5 unborn children as specimens. I promised I'd make you my wife, give you the most extravagant wedding. But why was that still not enough for you? Why did you show those photos and videos to Sophia? Why did you say those things and push her to abort the baby? Do you know how weak her body already was? How could you be so cruel? Sophia's not the woman you say she is. She never once asked me for anything. She was never the other woman. Because before you even agreed to marry me, the one by my side all those years was her. Luna, the disgusting one here is you. I'm calling off the wedding. Sophia is my wife, and you better pray that she's okay. If anything's happened to her, I won't let this go. You, or your family. The Lin family better be ready for the consequences." Ethan turned to leave, but Mrs. Gu suddenly blocked his path. "Pei-sai, where do you think you're going? You won't even listen to your own mother now. What's so great about that filthy woman? If she's dead, she's just saving us resources. The Gu family doesn't need her kind of offspring. You get back in there and finish this wedding, or don't call me your mother ever again." Ethan, usually the model of filial piety, shoved her aside without hesitation. His eyes were ice. "Then find yourself another son to take care of you when you're old. I'm going to find Sophia. And one more thing. If you or Luna dare say another word against her, don't blame me for being ruthless." Ethan stormed out of the hotel and booked the earliest flight back. As soon as he got home, he froze at the sight before him. Gone. Everything was gone. Not a single trace of her remained. She hadn't even left him a memory. The house was empty. But in his mind, it still echoed with Sophia's presence. He thought he could still see her, her silhouette in the hallway. The warmth in the little things she used to touch. Ethan remembered the small wooden rocking horse in the southeast corner of the living room. They had made it together when she was pregnant for the first time. She had told him she was an orphan. She only made it to college with help from her village. It wasn't until she met him that she finally felt like she had a family. When they had a child, she said, she would be the best mother she could, but she never got the chance. Because he had killed that chance himself, and then again, and again. The kitchen was spotless now, almost like it had just been remodeled, but it used to be full of life. Sophia had filled it with warmth and clutter, every dish, every utensil carefully chosen by her. She used to say she'd cook for him every day. As long as he came home, there would be a hot meal waiting. But after he refused to wear protection, and she kept getting pregnant and losing the babies, her body and spirit were drained. She didn't have the strength to cook anymore. Memories rushed back so vividly that Ethan couldn't bear to look. He shut his eyes, and tears spilled out. He remembered what Jason once said, "Those who betray true love deserve to swallow 10,000 needles." At the time, he thought he was in love with Luna. So what if Sophia had loved him? What did it matter? But now, having finally looked into his own heart, he realized what pain really was. Jason called, "Pei-sai." There's still no word from the rescue team. After all, she went down at sea. It's not easy to find her, but I just dug up some things I think you need to hear. Turns out, Luna had once seduced her university professor and got caught red-handed by his wife. It blew up. The scandal got her expelled for moral misconduct. All her so-called medical experiments and need for specimens. Lies, just lies to manipulate Ethan. She was simply afraid that if Sophia gave birth, married into the GU family, and had a child, she'd become a threat to Luna's hold on the inheritance. And the reason Luna had come back to China, because abroad, she was hated, chased out by everyone, even targeted by a powerful woman she had crossed. That woman had publicly vowed to make Luna pay. She had returned only to seek protection from Ethan. "Pei-sai," Jason said softly, "do you understand now? Luna's poison, and those 5 children. They were innocent." Ethan stayed silent for a long time. Finally, his voice was hoarse. "Jason, I need you to help me with a few things. Tell me what to do. Luna flies back tomorrow. I want you to give her address to that woman who's been looking for her. I don't want her to ever come back alive. And then, pool every resource we have, yours, mine. Burn the Lin family to the ground. I want them bankrupt." Jason paused. "That won't be hard, but what about you?" Ethan rummaged through the trash and found the shredded marriage certificate. The one he had forged. It was torn into hundreds of pieces, as if the person who tore it apart wished it had never existed. He realized he could never repay what he owed Sophia. "I'm going to find her," he said, "whether she's dead or alive. I'm going to find her. As for me, I guess fate wasn't quite done with me yet." Just before boarding the plane, the girl ahead of me, foreigner, probably, collapsed with acute appendicitis, and I was the only one there who could understand what she was saying. There was no time to waste. I rushed her to the hospital. The surgery went well, but when I finally checked the news, I saw that the plane had crashed. Her name was Julie, a cool, gutsy woman. She had come here on a solo trip, and by this strange twist of fate, dodged death. Since I was already involved, I decided to stay and help her recover. In that time, we unexpectedly became friends. She noticed my missing pinky and asked me what happened. Maybe I had been holding it in too long, so I told her everything. When I finished, she looked me straight in the eye and said, "You want me to kill those 2 bastards for you? Trust me, girl, I'm damn good at it." I laughed, thinking she was joking, but I was still touched by her bold heart. How could I let an innocent person get dragged into my mess? After Julie was discharged, she invited me to her place. I didn't refuse. To avoid Ethan's search, Julie got someone to make me a new ID. Only when I arrived at her home did I realize, Julie was no ordinary girl. She was rich and powerful. Perhaps the powerful always have their ways of knowing things. Not long after, Julie came to me with news. Luna was dead. Her body had been discovered in a back alley somewhere in Country M. So mangled there was barely a patch of skin left intact. One part of her body, in particular, was described in gruesome detail. Ethan had cancelled the wedding with her. Publicly, he announced that he already had a wife, and that he was now searching everywhere for me. I didn't understand him. Hadn't he longed to marry Luna with all his heart, so what was he trying to pull now? Either way, it had nothing to do with me anymore. What I didn't expect was to see Ethan again so soon. I was out shopping with Julie. She'd had something bad for lunch and was now in the restroom. In a blink, Ethan appeared in front of me. His beard was unkempt, giving him a haggard look, dark circles hung under his eyes, and he had clearly lost a lot of weight. He walked toward me, step by step. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist. "Sophia, please, let me see you. Let go, don't touch me." My voice was cold as ice. Ethan immediately released me, as if afraid of angering me. "Sophia, I know I made a terrible mistake. I failed to see what was truly in my heart. I hurt you, and I cost us our child. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to see you one last time, to say I'm sorry, face to face." I looked at him indifferently. "Ethan, what you should be doing right now isn't standing in front of me spewing some pathetic apology. What you should be doing is atoning." Ethan nodded repeatedly, full of shame and humility. "I will, I promise. But Sophia, if there's a next life, can I make it up to you then?" I could see the hope in his eyes. Sadly, it was far too late. I raised my hand, the one missing a finger, and spoke softly. "The doctor told me that if I had brought the severed finger in right away, it could have been reattached. But I refused. Do you know why?" His gaze fell on my damaged hand, filling with pain. He shook his head. "Because I knew I wasn't just cutting off a finger. I was cutting off every last feeling I had for you. From the moment I found out the truth, I had already decided. This life, the next, and every life after, I will leave you forever. No looking back." All color drained from Ethan's face. His body swayed slightly. After a long pause, he managed to pull out a smile, one uglier than crying. "I understand now. Don't worry, I won't bother you again. Sophia, I hope you find happiness." Ethan turned and walked away. 5 minutes later, a loud thud rang out, followed by chaos downstairs. "Oh no," someone jumped. It was some Asian guy, real handsome. "Call an ambulance." "No point." His head split open, dead on impact, as the locals would say. Already shaking hands with the devil, Julie finally emerged from the restroom, puzzled by the commotion. "What's going on out here? Why is it so noisy?" I looked out the window, then replied calmly, "Nothing. Just someone trying to atone a little too late." Next, I will tell you the second story. If you think this story is good, please remember to subscribe. Your support is our greatest motivation. Haisha Prison. The cold iron gates creaked open slowly, letting in a sliver of golden sunlight that spilled across Emily's pale, sallow face. The same clothes she had worn 5 years ago now hung loosely on her thin frame. After enduring 5 endless years in darkness, she was finally free. Emily dragged her leg behind her as she limped out of the prison gates. She walked slowly, not because she wanted to, but because she physically couldn't go any faster. A black Bentley was parked by the roadside. Its window rolled down, revealing a man's sharp, cold face. His gaze swept over her injured leg and he let out a scornful snort, the contempt in his eyes unmasked. 5 years in prison and you're still acting like a victim." Emily's heart tightened unexpectedly. Her eyes stung with an ache she couldn't name. Nathan, her biological brother. She had been adopted into the Lin family from an orphanage at the age of 15. From that day on, she had gone out of her way to please him. But in the end, he had testified against her in court, falsely accusing her of attempted murder, all for the sake of his adopted sister, someone he wasn't even related to by blood. 5 years later, he was just as sharp-tongued, just as disgusted by her. Emily bit back the sourness rising in her throat and pretended not to see him. Limping, she continued forward. Nathan's expression froze. She ignored him. In his memory, Emily had always rushed to his side, doing everything she could to earn his approval. When he came home, she'd bring him slippers. When he was tired, she'd massage his shoulders. When he couldn't sleep, she'd bring him calming tea every night. When work got too busy for him to come home, she'd wait for him outside his office with a thermos of soup, rain or shine. During those 3 years she was around. His chronic stomach issues eased for the first time in years, But ever since she went to prison, the pain came back, often waking him in the middle of the night. When he heard she was getting released today, he had actually been happy. He even cancelled a multinational conference just to pick her up himself. He thought she'd be overjoyed to see him, thought she might finally break down and pour out her grievances from the past 5 years. He never imagined he'd be met with indifference. Cold silence, that look of admiration in her eyes, it was gone. All that remained was distance. The unfamiliar hollowness in his chest filled him with rage. He gripped the steering wheel so tightly that veins bulged on the backs of his hands. His voice snapped, sharp and harsh, "Get in the car." Then, regretting the tone, he frowned and tried again, a bit softer. "Mom and Dad know you're being released today. They've arranged a welcome dinner for you, Mom and Dad." How familiar and foreign those words sounded. Back in the orphanage, she used to dream that if she had parents, they'd surely spoil her like a little princess. She dreamed about it for 15 long years, and then finally, the dream came true. She had a mother, a father, even a tall, handsome CEO brother. But the beloved little princess wasn't her. It was Chloe, the fake heiress they'd raised since birth. Those people weren't her parents, they were Nathan and Chloe's parents. Emily chuckled bitterly to herself. In those 3 years she lived in that house, she endured more coldness and humiliation than she could count. She knew they didn't want her. Why should she go back and humiliate herself all over again? Her steps were slow, but she didn't stop for a second. Her indifference, her defiant back, stung Nathan's eyes. An anger he couldn't name flared up inside him. He flung open the car door. In just a few strides, his long legs caught up to her. He grabbed her wrist and yanked her back hard. "Have you thrown enough of a tantrum?" Emily lost her balance and fell heavily to the ground. Pain shot through her injured leg like lightning, draining the color from her face. Nathan exploded, still pretending to be fragile. Addicted to the act. "Don't forget, 5 years ago, you pushed Lin down the stairs and turned her into a vegetable. Then you tried to frame Wanna for it. You served time and still haven't learned your lesson. Looks like prison didn't change you at all." He yanked her off the ground without the slightest care, spitting with disgust. "Don't think 5 years behind bars means your debt is paid. As long as Lin lies in that hospital bed, your crime isn't forgiven, and you still owe Wanna an apology. Now get in the car." "Don't make me say it twice." Emily couldn't help but find it laughable. She had explained it before, over and over. It wasn't her who pushed Elaine, it was Chloe. But no one believed her. They all stood by Chloe's side. Even though she was the true Lin heiress by blood, the entire family had believed Chloe's every word. She had committed a sin of ever coming home, a sin of yearning for a love that was never meant for her. She had learned her lesson. She would change. She would go far, far away. Never again would she fight Chloe for their parents' love. Never again would she stand in their way or be a thorn in their eyes. But why couldn't Nathan just let it go? Without a word, she slipped her wrist from his grasp and took a step back, putting distance between them. Her deliberate withdrawal made Nathan's chest tighten. All he could see was the image of Emily from years ago, clinging to him like a lost puppy, desperate to please. He fought to suppress the fire rising in his chest. He tried to speak more gently. "Come home with me." Emily lowered her eyes, her expression calm and detached. As if even looking at him took too much effort, that dead, lifeless expression sent his fury skyrocketing. 5 years in prison. If she'd learned nothing else, she'd sure grown a backbone. He was just about to lose it when a soft, spring-like voice drifted through the air. "Chen." Emily's body tensed. Her long numb heart suddenly clenched tight in her chest. Even after 5 years without hearing that voice, she recognized it instantly. It was her childhood friend, Leon. She saw a pair of polished leather shoes step into view. His deep, magnetic voice sounded above her. "Emily, congratulations on regaining your freedom." If anyone else had said those words, she might have politely replied, "Thank you," but coming from Leon, they cut like a blade. Her most trusted childhood companion, Leon, the brilliant attorney Lou, had made his name in Harbor City by taking on his very first case after graduation, defending Chloe and helping to convict her, before the trial. He'd said to her, "Emily, Chloe has never suffered a day in her life. She wouldn't survive prison. Can you take the blame for her? Just this once. Chloe couldn't endure prison, but she could. Was it because she'd grown up used to hardship that she deserved to bear a false conviction? He had thrown the real Lin family daughter behind bars, using her downfall to skyrocket his career. 5 years ago, fresh out of university, he'd still looked somewhat boyish. Now, he was a household name in Harbor City's legal world, every inch the elite professional. They had grown up together in the orphanage, closer than blood siblings. Whenever other children bullied her, Leon would fight them off, then solemnly vow, "As long as I'm here, no one will ever hurt you, Emily." He'd promised to study law, to become a lawyer, and put anyone who wronged her behind bars. But when Chloe repeatedly humiliated her, Leon had brushed it off with, "Emily, you're just too sensitive. Chloe's not like that." And then it was Leon himself, who shielded her abuser, and who sent her to prison with his own hands. A long silence fell between them. Leon's smile froze on his face. Still, he forced himself to hold it and extended a hand toward her. "Emily, I came to pick you up." Before he could finish, Emily turned toward Nathan. "Aren't we going home? Let's go." She knew there was no escaping now. Leon had once been the person she trusted most. Now, he was the one she most despised, the one she could never face again. Between the two, she'd rather choose Nathan. At least Nathan had always hated her. On her first day at the Lin family estate, Nathan had warned her, "Even if we're blood relatives, in my heart, Chloe is my only sister. You better behave yourself. If I ever catch you bullying her, I won't show mercy." He had never given her hope, so she never felt disappointment. With Nathan, the emotional damage was manageable. It was still better than being gutted by the one she once loved like family. Prison had taught her one thing: when you're powerless and alone, the only way to survive is to minimize harm. So when inmates forced her to choose between disfigurement and a slap, she chose the slap. Between a beating and kneeling, she knelt. Between drinking toilet water and barking like a dog, she barked. She had fought back at first. The more she resisted, the worse the beatings got. Eventually, for the sake of survival, she abandoned her pride and obeyed. See, even among ruthless criminals, she had clawed her way through. Relying solely on her instinct to avoid harm, Emily walked toward Nathan's black Bentley. As she passed Leon, her expression never changed, not even a glance was spared. Her oversized t-shirt brushed against his fingers, empty and weightless, like fabric draped on a wire hanger rather than a human body. Leon's hand froze mid-air. In that instant, it felt as though the world had stopped turning. All he could feel was the cold, hollow brush of cloth at his fingertips. A flash of pain and emptiness passed through his eyes. His heart clenched, each beat a dull stab. She used to follow him with eyes full of trust and reliance. They had grown up together in that orphanage, always leaning on each other. Whenever he called her name, she would smile and say, "I'm here, Leon." But now, she treated him like air, not even willing to meet his gaze. Leon's lips trembled. He tried to speak, but his throat felt choked, unable to push out a single word. Emily got into the car. Sitting in the back seat, everywhere she looked, there were traces of another woman. The passenger seat was covered with a fluffy pink cushion. The dashboard was lined with a row of cute strawberry bear figurines. Even the rearview mirror hung with a charm bearing the face of a mature, seductive woman. Chloe, she was smiling brightly, the perfect image of a spoiled heiress raised with nothing but love and luxury. That radiant face seemed to mock Emily for being the imposter. Emily had thought she was numb to it all, but seeing it for herself still stirred a bitter ache inside her chest. She looked away, only to accidentally catch sight of the shopping bag beside her. Inside was a pure white dress, immaculate and expensive. Even without seeing the whole gown, the delicate feathers trimming the fabric suggested it was stunningly beautiful. Her fingers instinctively rubbed the coarse denim of her jeans. Everything in this car reminded her that she didn't belong. From head to toe, she was worth less than the dress sitting beside her. Outside the window, the scenery rushed by in reverse. Nathan, behind the wheel, gave her another cold warning. "Mom and Dad have missed you these 5 years. They cried so much their hair turned white with worry. When we get back, keep your attitude in check. I don't want to see you scheming against Chloe, creating drama that puts them in a difficult spot. If you behave, The Lin family won't treat you unfairly." Silence fell after his words. When no reply came, Nathan frowned, glancing at her through the rearview mirror. "Emily, I'm talking to you. Did you hear me?" At last, Emily looked up, her voice calm and steady. She spoke the longest sentence she had since leaving prison. According to Article 48 of the Prison Law of the People's Republic of China, inmates are allowed to receive visits from family members and legal guardians during their sentence. In prison, inmates are allowed family visits once a month, each lasting between 30 minutes to an hour. I served 5 years, 60 months. I should have had 60 visits. But I didn't get even one. Her voice was calm, but every word pierced straight through his carefully spun lies like a blade. Nathan's eyes flickered, guilt and panic flashing across his face. Whatever harsh words he had prepared died in his throat. He instinctively avoided Emily's sharp yet composed gaze. His fingers clenched the steering wheel tightly, knuckles turning white from the pressure. It's not like that. You were too hard to deal with. Mom and Dad thought it'd be better not to visit. So you could focus on changing your behavior. They were doing it for your own good, for her own good. Like how they let her take the fall for Chloe, like how they let her rot in prison for 5 years. Some kindness. Emily had never felt so utterly tired. She didn't want to look at Nathan a second longer. Her eyes drifted to the window, watching the city blur by. Soon, the car pulled into the garage of the Lin family estate. Nathan seemed excited. He grabbed a shopping bag from the back seat and hurried out. He had barely taken a few steps before freezing mid-stride, clearly having just remembered her existence. He turned around, an awkward stiffness still clinging to his expression. "Go change into something decent, head to the banquet hall." With that, he left without another word. Even after 5 years, this house still felt like a stranger to Emily. There was no warmth here, not a hint of belonging, compared to this. Even the orphanage felt more like home. Back at the orphanage, she may not have had her own room, but at least she lived in a dorm with windows that welcomed the morning sun. When sunlight poured in, the room felt bright and warm. She used to love the smell of blankets dried under the sun. To her, that smell was what home should be. But when she finally returned to her home, she realized something. Her home didn't smell like sunshine, it smelled of mold and shadows. The kind of air sunlight never reached. She pushed open the door. The room was small, windowless, packed with miscellaneous clutter. The only 2 pieces of furniture were a folding cot and an old desk. This was the storeroom, cold in winter, stifling in summer. It was also where she'd lived for 3 years after being brought to the Lin family. Nathan had told her to dress appropriately, but when had she ever owned anything appropriate? She had worn the same high school uniform year-round. The t-shirt and jeans she had on now were bought with wages from a holiday job, 2 pieces for just under 40 yuan. She remembered how excited she had been when she first put them on. She even asked Nathan what he thought. All she got was a frown. "What the hell are you wearing? Can't you try dressing a little more like Wanna? Look presentable for once. Take that off and throw it away. Don't embarrass the Lin family in public." Chloe's elegance was purchased with money and privilege. Emily, on the other hand, had nothing. The Lin family gave her neither love nor wealth, yet blamed her for not being poised enough. Even now, she didn't understand why they had brought her back. Her only purpose in that house was to make Chloe, the imposter heiress, shine brighter by comparison. Wasn't there a saying? The one who isn't loved is always the outsider. It fit her perfectly. Back then, she used to cry over how unfair it was. Now, she didn't care anymore. She scanned the storage room. The only clean outfit available was her old blue and white school uniform. 5 years ago, she had received an acceptance letter from Qingbei University, the most prestigious school in China. The Lin parents, however, threw a grand graduation banquet. For Chloe, that banquet drew every elite figure in Haisha. 18-year-old Chloe wore a couture princess gown worth over $1 million, a diamond-encrusted tiara gleaming on her head. She stood between Mr. and Mrs. Lin like a crowned heir, the center of attention, and Emily, dressed like a country girl, like an ugly duckling mistakenly placed among swans. She was dragged away in handcuffs right in front of everyone. She spent the next 5 years in prison, serving time during what should have been the best years of her youth. 5 minutes later, dressed in her high school uniform, Emily made her way toward the Lin family's banquet hall. Along the way, a few maids passed by, eyeing her curiously. Who's that? Why is she showing up in a school uniform? Probably one of the servers from Shin-chan Hotel. Looks like a summer job kid from some high school. The master and madam are so good to Miss Chloe. Can you believe they even brought in the head chef from Shin-chan Hotel just for her celebration? Isn't that the truth? The maid muttered. Then walked past Emily and added as she went, the banquet is about to begin. Go get changed into the standard uniform. Don't slack off when you're serving the guests. Today's attendees are all high-profile figures in Harbor City. Then she was gone, leaving Emily standing still, her feet rooted to the spot. Suddenly, she didn't want to go to the banquet hall anymore. Nathan had only told her that Mr. and Mrs. Lin had prepared a welcome dinner. He hadn't mentioned there would be outsiders. Getting released from prison wasn't exactly something to celebrate. Was it really necessary to throw a grand event? Back then, she'd been dragged away in handcuffs in front of the entire upper crust of Harbor City, and now, they wanted to publicly celebrate the return of a convicted criminal in front of that same elite crowd. To her, it didn't feel like a welcome home, it felt like a calculated humiliation, one designed to put all her past disgrace on display, not a shred of dignity left. Beneath the bitterness rose a flicker of anger, bubbling to the surface. Emily no longer wanted to stay. She turned to leave, but Nathan was walking toward her. The moment he saw what she was wearing, his expression darkened with disgust. Striding over with a scowl, he snapped at her. Didn't I tell you to change into something formal? Why are you dressed like this? Do you even know what kind of event this is? Emily opened her mouth to explain, but Nathan didn't give her the chance. You looked like a wreck when you got out of prison. And now that you're home, you're pulling the same pitiful act in public again, trying to make people think we've mistreated you, still playing the victim. Emily, your tactics are as low as ever. You're absolutely hopeless. As he spoke, he reached out to grab her, still muttering vile curses. Go change. Don't embarrass us. Emily sidestepped, dodging his grip. Nathan caught nothing but air and grew even more furious. You dare to dodge me? Emily lifted her gaze to him. He looked at her like she was filth, that contemptuous, impatient glare. She had endured it for 3 years in the Lin household. Every time she faced it, it felt like invisible hands were tearing her heart apart, even when her eyes welled up with tears. All she ever got in return was, stop pretending. Maybe she'd grown used to that look. Maybe 5 years in prison had burned away her pride. Now, even when faced with Nathan's overflowing disdain, she felt nothing. His opinion no longer held the power to stir any emotion in her. Emily met his gaze, expression calm and distant, her eyes steady. I don't have a dress. Nathan's fury only intensified. You don't have a dress. And you didn't think to buy one. Emily took a deep breath. Nathan's prejudice ran too deep. Nothing she said would change his mind. She had tried explaining before, but the more she explained, the more he assumed she was hiding something, and the more viciously he accused her. She felt nothing but exhaustion now. So, she said coldly, I don't have money. Nathan's brows knotted tightly, his anger nearly erupting into flames. You lived in our house for 3 years, never lacked food or clothing. And the company transferred 500,000 yuan to your card every single month. That's 18 million yuan in total. Don't tell me you couldn't afford a few decent outfits. You wear cheap street market trash just to make it seem like the Lin family mistreated you. Emily, don't be so selfish. You've caused enough trouble, and we've compensated you. It's time to let it go. Keep going like this, and you're just being pathetic. Emily had expected this. No matter what she said, he would never believe her. She stared at him, unblinking, and somehow, her steady gaze made Nathan feel a rare moment of unease. What are you looking at me like that for? I didn't say anything wrong. Oh, he wasn't wrong. Emily laughed to herself, cold and bitter. She hadn't wanted to make a scene, but Nathan's relentless attack lit a fire in her. From the corner of her eye, she noticed someone approaching. If there was going to be a scene, then fine, let it be a big one. She had already lost her dignity. She had nothing else to lose. Let's see if someone like Nathan, who cared so much about appearances, could handle being disgraced in public. I never received any payments from the company, not 500,000. Not even 50. If you're going to accuse me, young Master Lin, at least come up with a better excuse. Nathan's expression twisted further with disdain. You just don't know when to quit, Emily. You're asking for it. Don't blame me for making things ugly. He pulled out his phone and dialed the company's finance department, putting the call on speaker. Check for me. How much money has been deposited each month into Emily's account? A hesitant voice came through the line. Emily, you mean the young miss? Yes. Well, if it's Miss Emily, there's no need to check. Nathan frowned. What's that supposed to mean? The voice on the other end replied carefully. Sir, to be honest, the finance department has never deposited any money into Miss Emily's account. What did you say? Nathan could hardly believe his ears. No money. Emily might not have been favored, but she was still a Lin. How could she not receive any allowance? He distinctly remembered discussing it with his parents the night she returned. To avoid favoritism, they had agreed Emily would receive the same monthly allowance as Chloe. 500,000 yuan. He couldn't have misremembered. I gave that order myself. The voice continued. Sir, you may not know this, but Madam said Miss Emily came from a place like an orphanage. She's inexperienced and surrounded by questionable people. Giving her 500,000 a month might lead her astray. At the time, Miss Emily was still in high school, living comfortably in the Lin estate. She had no need for money, so the allowance was cancelled. Nathan stood frozen, the words echoing in his ears. The allowance, cancelled, that meant. For the entire 3 years Emily lived in the Lin family home, she received nothing, and Madam also increased Miss Chloe's monthly allowance from 500,000 to 1 million. She said, with Emily back, Chloe might feel hurt. The extra was meant as compensation. I believe you were informed. Sir, Nathan felt like he'd been punched in the gut. His throat closed up, and the breath caught in his lungs. No, he hadn't been informed at all. The crowd grew larger. More and more people had heard what came through the phone speaker. Everyone present was stunned. The Lin family wasn't the wealthiest in Haisha, but it was undoubtedly one of the most prominent. Among families like that, it was entirely normal for daughters to receive monthly allowances of hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions, but this was the first time anyone had heard of a wealthy heiress who didn't receive a single cent of pocket money every month. Only the Lin family could pull that off. No wonder Emily's clothes looked so cheap. No wonder she showed up at the banquet without even a proper dress. She might not have been raised in the Lin household, but she was their real daughter by blood, and yet they gave her nothing. Meanwhile, their adopted daughter received 1 million a month and was spoiled beyond belief. The fact that such a scandal could come from a family like the Lins only confirmed that something was deeply wrong with them. Guests began whispering among themselves. Nathan felt as though needles were stabbing into his back. His face flushed a deep crimson from shame and rage. He simply refused to believe something so humiliating could happen in their family. The Lins were powerful, prestigious. They could never be so stingy that they wouldn't give their own flesh and blood a measly allowance. Nathan's voice was sharp as he confronted Emily. Even if finance didn't transfer money to your account, Mom and Dad definitely gave you money themselves, didn't they? Emily's face was laced with mockery. She looked past Nathan, her gaze settling on Mr. and Mrs. Lin in the crowd. Whether Mr. and Mrs. Lin gave me any money, she said slowly. Perhaps you should ask them yourself, young Master Lin. After all, you've never believed a word I said. But surely, you'll believe your parents. Mr. and Mrs. Lin froze. Shame flooded their faces. Neither could meet her eyes. Dad, Mom, Nathan said seriously. You did give her pocket money, right? Mr. Lin's gaze flickered. I thought you would, so I didn't. Mrs. Lin's eyes were full of guilt, tears pooling as she said softly, I thought your father would give it to you. Chen, if you didn't have money, why didn't you tell me earlier? If you had, I definitely would have given you some. This is all my fault. I should have noticed sooner. I'm so sorry you suffered, but please believe me, I've always treated you and Wana equally. Emily gave her a half smile, not quite amused, not quite angry, just cold. Under her detached gaze, Mrs. Lin awkwardly lowered her eyes. Only today did Emily learn the truth. It was her own birth mother who had personally forbidden the finance department from sending her any money, as if that wasn't enough. She had even increased Chloe's allowance to 1 million, afraid her beloved adopted daughter might feel neglected. This was their idea of equal treatment. A so-called noblewoman who dressed in designer clothes from head to toe, whose socks cost hundreds of yuan. Did she really not notice that her own daughter's outfit cost less than 100 total? She saw it, of course she did, she just didn't care. This apology was nothing more than a show, for the sake of appearances. Fortunately, Emily had already seen through them long ago. Her heart had been scorched into stone, poison-proof, fireproof, untouchable. She had long since stopped hoping for anything from them, and that made her unbreakable. When Emily ignored her mother's apology in front of all the guests, throwing the Lin family's dignity to the ground, whatever guilt Nathan had started to feel instantly vanished. He barked, "You've got a mouth, don't you? Why didn't you say something? We're not mind readers. How were we supposed to know what you needed? If you had just spoken up, do you think we wouldn't have given you money?" "I did speak up." Emily's voice was quiet, but icy. "You just didn't care." Nathan frowned, about to refute her. But then, a memory surfaced. It was a quiet afternoon. The four of them sat together in the living room, chatting happily. Emily had approached shyly, clutching the hem of her school uniform. Her face turned bright red before she even opened her mouth. After a long, awkward pause, she finally whispered, "Dad, Mom, could I have 5,000 yuan for tuition?" Smack. He had slammed his newspaper down on the coffee table and glared at her. "Money, money, money. Is that all you care about? Did you come back to this family just to beg for cash? If we were poor, would you have stayed in the orphanage instead? I don't even know why Mom and Dad insisted on bringing you back. If you have nothing better to do, go read a book. Wanna just placed 10th in the whole school in the monthly exam. What about you?" I was first." "Oh please," he sneered. "Last place doesn't count as first, you know." Back then, he had already arranged for the finance team to deposit 500,000 into her account every month, and here she was, opening her mouth to ask for 5,000. How outrageous. Even Wanna didn't get that much. Who did she think she was? Emily's tears had rolled down her face like she'd suffered the worst injustice in the world. He had only felt annoyed, unable to even finish reading the financial paper. Thank God for Wanna. She had come over, hugged his arm, and cooed sweetly, "Brother, I ranked 10th this time. Do I get a reward?" How could he resist his adorable baby sister? All his irritation vanished. He pinched her cheek and smiled indulgently. "What kind of reward does Wanna want? I saw a handbag I like. It's 100,000. Will you buy it for me?" "Of course. Sweetheart, if you like it, I'll buy it, even if it costs 1 million. After spoiling Chloe, he had turned back to Emily with a scowl. "Why are you still standing there? Go to your room and study." Emily had been so humiliated that she turned and ran. Mr. and Mrs. Lin had sighed in unison. If only Chen were half as sensible as Wanna. "So, young Master Lin finally remembers now." Emily's voice pulled him back to reality. Every syllable of young Master Lin from her lips sliced through his heart, leaving it bloody and raw. He was her brother, her biological brother, not some cold, distant young Master Lin. But since the day she was released from prison, she hadn't called him brother even once. Nathan's eyes darkened, frustration welling up. "Well, what do you expect? Your grades were terrible. You came in dead last. How could you ask for money? I didn't even have the heart to reward you." Emily's gaze grew colder, piercing. Nathan felt a strange guilt creep in under her emotionless stare. Gritting his teeth, he barked, "I say a few words and you're already upset. For all 3 years of high school, I ranked first in the entire grade every single year. How did that become dead last?" In your version of the story, young Master Lin, seeing Nathan's stunned face, Emily curled her lips into a frosty smile, a quiet satisfaction blooming inside her. Then again, "I suppose it makes sense. You don't even know which school I attended. How could you possibly know how well I did?" Nathan looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He stood frozen in place, as if he'd just heard something completely absurd. His voice was hoarse. Didn't you go to Shenghui High?" Shenghui was Harbor City's most prestigious private school. Chloe had graduated from there. Every child from a wealthy or powerful family went to Shanghai. Nathan had always assumed Emily did too. He turned sharply toward Mr. and Mrs. Lin, his voice trembling. Dad, Mom, when Emily came back, did you ever transfer her school records to Shanghai? Mr. Lin's face turned beet red. He opened his mouth but could only manage a few garbled sounds. The stern, dignified man of before looked completely spineless now. Mrs. Lin's lips trembled. Her eyes darted around in panic. Not even her meticulously applied makeup could cover the shame on her face. The two of them stood stiffly, while the air around them seemed to freeze. Nathan's face turned pale, shade by shade. His entire understanding of Emily collapsed like a toppled monument. All the contempt and condescension he'd once held now turned into blades, cutting deep into his own chest. His voice was barely audible, like something was crushing his throat. Emily, during high school, where did you actually study? He was only now asking about her education, after destroying her future. How ironic, she had spent 10 years burning the midnight oil, studying with all her might, just to change her fate. Her efforts had finally begun to bear fruit, yet it had all been crushed under the heel of power and privilege. The Lin family's casual, dismissive judgment had condemned her completely, banished her to the darkest pits of society. She had once dreamed of a bright future. She didn't come from wealth. Her only weapon was relentless effort and academic excellence. Her goal was to get into Peking or Tsinghua University, then pursue graduate studies, a PhD, and become a professor, standing at the podium, helping students like her rise above their circumstances. But reality had slapped her in the face. She hadn't become the person she longed to be. Instead, she'd become a convict, marked by a stain that would follow her the rest of her life, a label that would curse her and her descendants for generations. Emily's fists clenched at her sides, fingernails digging into her palms, yet she felt no pain. Harbor City no, one high school, she said softly. Her voice was gentle, yet the 4 simple words landed like a sledgehammer on Mr. and Mrs. Lin's chest, nearly knocking the breath out of them. Because Harbor City no. 1 was the top-ranked public high school in the city, unlike Shanghai, where money bought admission. No, 1 high admitted only by scores. The competition there was brutal, and she had ranked first, every year, among the elite. She was the elite, with grades like hers. Acceptance into Tsinghua or Peking University was all but guaranteed. That's impossible, you're lying, Nathan snapped, voice rising. Harbor no. 1 is in the outskirts, more than 30 kilometers from home. You used to ride that old beat-up bike every day. Halfway through the sentence, his words trailed off. Something dawned on him. His face grew even paler. Emily's lips curved into a mocking smile. I would rather ride a bike than go to school with Chloe, because we never attended the same school. I never ate breakfast with any of you. Harbor no. 1 starts morning classes at 6. I had to wake up at 4 and ride 2 hours just to get there on time. I never came home for lunch. There wasn't enough time. I didn't have money to buy food, so I drank water to last until evening. When I finally made it home, you'd already eaten. I was left with cold leftovers, and even then you mocked me. You said I was born lowly, that I ignored hot food just to gobble down scraps, that I ate like a starving dog reincarnated. Emily, I'm sorry. Mrs. Lin broke down in tears. Her sobs came like beads falling from a snapped thread. I didn't know you suffered so much. It's all my fault. Emily stared at her tear-streaked face, her own heart completely still. You don't owe me anything. I wasn't raised by your side. I understand you have no bond with me. I got used to that a long time ago. A little more suffering doesn't matter to me anymore. Her tone remained calm, without a single tremor. She added one final line. Right, Madam Lin. Mrs. Lin's sobbing stopped abruptly. Chen, I'm begging you, she said, her voice trembling. You're stronger than Wanna. You've always been tougher. You survived the orphanage all by yourself. Mom knows you'll adjust to prison too. Just take the blame for Wanna, please. Memories buried for 5 years surged to the surface like a flood. Mrs. Lin clutched her chest as if the weight of guilt might knock her out cold at any second. Emily stared at her trembling form with icy amusement. There had been security footage of Chloe pushing Elaine down the stairs, but the moment the incident occurred, Mrs. Lin had rushed to delete it. The only piece of evidence that could have proven Emily's innocence. Because of that, she had no way to defend herself in court. Enough, Nathan snapped, glaring at Emily. Stop with the sarcasm. We neglected you before, yes, but do you really think you're blameless? You were jealous of Wanna, jealous that she had a better life than you. You bullied her, used that as a way to get revenge on us. You've always been bitter, unpleasant, and hard to love. Instead of blaming us, maybe take a long, hard look at yourself. Yang Shu, don't talk to your sister that way, Mrs. Lin said between sobs. Mom, you're still defending her. She's only become so brazen because we pity her. Otherwise, would she have pushed Elaine down the stairs, turned her into a vegetable, and then pinned it on Wanna? We sent her to prison for 5 years and she still resents us. That's why she's making a scene in front of all our guests. Mrs. Lin looked away guiltily when she turned to Emily. The girl was already staring at her, expression unreadable, lips curved in a cold smile. Mrs. Lin's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't hold Emily's gaze and quickly looked away. That's enough, Mr. Lin said, frowning with authority. Chen, if you were coming home, why didn't you tell us in advance? If we'd known, your mother and I could have prepared a proper dress for you. Emily stood there, stunned. You didn't know I was getting out today. Of course not, if we had. I would have sent the driver to pick you up. How did you get here? Emily looked straight at Nathan. Her voice was cold as frost, her gaze sharp as blades. I came in young Master Lin's car. He said you'd prepared a welcome-back dinner for me. Welcome dinner? Isn't today Chloe's birthday? Someone in the crowd said. Yes. The invitation I got said it was a birthday banquet for the Lin family's eldest daughter, Chloe. Since when did it turn into a welcome party for an ex-convict? Exactly. Are we seriously being asked to celebrate someone just released from prison? That's a bit much. The guests' whispers grew louder. Nathan's face flushed with embarrassment. He opened his mouth to explain, but not a single word came out. Emily sneered inwardly. So, the clown in this circus was her all along, Mr. and Mrs. Lin had only remembered Chloe's birthday. No one had thought about the day their real daughter was being released from prison, that so-called welcome banquet. It was nothing more than her tagging along, riding the coattails of Chloe's grand celebration. Her chest tightened with sourness. What had she even been expecting? She didn't want to keep pretending with these people anymore. She turned on her heel to leave. Just then, a flash of white barreled toward her. Emily tried to dodge, but her injured leg made it impossible. Thud. The impact knocked her to the ground. Agonizing pain shot through her elbow and leg, her brows furrowed. Her already pale face turned ghostly white. As she struggled to gather herself and suppress the pain, she looked up, only to see Mr. and Mrs. Lin and Nathan huddled around a girl in a feathered white haute couture gown, fussing over her like she were made of glass. Wanna, are you okay? Are you hurt? Did it hurt when you fell? The girl's eyes were full of tears, her nose and cheeks were flushed as she sobbed pitifully. Mom, Dad, brother, it really hurts, immediately. The Lin family grew frantic. Where does it hurt? Did Emily push you? Are you injured? Nathan didn't even hesitate. He turned on Emily and roared. Can't you watch where you're going? Emily's patience snapped. She braced herself and pushed off the ground, staggering a little from the pain in her leg, gritting her teeth. She glared at Nathan. Wow, young Master Lin, that tongue of yours really doesn't miss a beat. She ran into me, and you don't even bother checking before blaming me. What is it? Framing me just comes naturally now, costs you nothing, right? You, there are dozens of eyes here, who wasn't watching, want to tell me again it was my fault. Nathan quickly glanced around, and realized every guest was giving him that same unreadable look. These were all people from Heish's elite circles. Maybe they didn't think much of Emily because of her criminal record, but they were too well-bred to accept outright lies. Someone couldn't hold it in and said aloud, to be fair, young Master Lin, we all saw Chloe run into her. Once someone spoke up, the rest followed. Nods and murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd. Nathan's face turned dark, his gaze sharpened. In his eyes, Emily was no longer a sister, she was a saboteur. Here to ruin Chloe's birthday and embarrass the Lin family in front of high society. He knew Emily far too well. She was petty, vengeful, capable of anything. If she could frame someone once, she could do it again. Nathan narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Even if Wanna bumped into you, it was clearly an accident. What, you couldn't just step aside? No, you chose not to, just to make a scene." Emily felt a rush of blood surge to her head. For a moment, there was a loud buzz in her mind, as if she were about to lose all reason. Dodge, she could barely walk without limping. She couldn't even move quickly if she wanted to. How was she supposed to dodge anything? Oh, that's right. Back when she was released from prison, Nathan hadn't believed her. He had scoffed at her limp, insisting she was faking it. He only saw Chloe get knocked down. He conveniently ignored that she, too, had been knocked to the ground. Since they loved humiliating her so much, then fine. There was no need to protect their dignity anymore. Right then and there, in full view of everyone, Emily lifted her sleeve. Her elbow was smeared with blood. The vivid red stark against the pale skin around it. A shocking sight. Her palm hadn't escaped injury either. The torn skin was still oozing blood, trickling down her fingertips and dripping to the floor. Emily raised her arm high in the air, making sure everyone could see. "Do I really need to throw myself to the ground just to earn a scolding from young Master Lin?" Her voice was shaky, laced with suppressed sobs. Her eyes were red with humiliation and pain. "Do I look like someone so cheap I'd hurt myself for pity?" All eyes fell on the scrapes and gashes covering her hand and arm. Nathan's pupils contracted, and his cheeks burned with shame. For a moment, he couldn't even meet her gaze. "Mrs. Lin," gasped. She immediately let go of Chloe and rushed to Emily, reaching out, then hesitating, afraid touching her would cause more pain. "Emily, you're hurt. Does it hurt a lot?" she asked anxiously, blowing gently on Emily's wound like a mother would. Her face was full of worry, as if her heart was truly aching. Tears welled up in Chloe's eyes. "I'm sorry, sister," she sniffled, voice soft and delicate. "The custom gown Nathan had made for me. For some reason it arrived damaged. I panicked, that's why I bumped into you. Please don't be mad at him, okay? He only misunderstood you because he was worried about me." She looked at Emily with tearful, pitiful eyes, her expression timid and sorrowful, like a painting of a weeping flower. Even her crying looked beautiful. She was saying sorry, but her expression made it look like Emily had bullied her. During Emily's 3 years in the Lin family, every time she was wronged, Chloe would put on this exact same face. Fragile, innocent, the eternal victim, and now, 5 years later, she hadn't changed a bit. Well, that's all for today's story. If you like this video, please subscribe. We will continue to update more exciting stories and look forward to seeing you next time.